Welcome back to today's economic news. I'm your host, John, and today we're diving into the turbulent waters of geopolitics and public unrest as President Trump's visit to the World Economic Forum in Davos sparked violent protests across Switzerland, including intense clashes with local police. Now, I know what you're thinking. Why should I care about protests on the other side of the world? Well, this isn't just a story about one man's visit causing a ruckus. It's a narrative that underscores a growing dissatisfaction with how global leadership handles economic policies which impact us all, whether directly or indirectly. Before diving into the chaos that took place in Davos and other Swiss cities, let's take a moment to understand the complexities behind these events. The World Economic Forum, an annual gathering in the picturesque town of Davos, is often criticized as a summit of the elite, those seemingly out of touch with the everyday struggles of citizens around the world. Essentially, it's viewed as an exclusive club where decisions are made that can influence global economies, but often to the detriment of the working class. More recently, we've seen a cultural and political shift rooted in populism, spreading across Western nations, challenging long-standing norms of globalization and austerity measures. These are the fertile grounds from which these protests have grown. You see, since the early 2000s, policies that were supposed to lift all boats have, in fact, widened the gap between the rich and the poor. Many in the middle and working classes feel left behind, perceiving globalization as a vehicle for economic inequality rather than a universal opportunity for prosperity. In this context, Trump's presence at the WEF only added fuel to the fire. His administration's staunch stance on national security, coupled with criticisms of European leaders and even proposals as controversial as purchasing Greenland, have exacerbated tensions. To European leaders, this felt like a direct challenge to their sovereignty, while many citizens saw it as another example of brash American imperialism that they vehemently opposed. Let's get into some hard data here, shall we? In Davos, 300 protesters took to the streets, raising their voices against what they see as the legitimization of authoritarian and plutocratic politics. Now you might say 300 isn't that many, but consider this. It's a signal flare, a sign of discontent among the populace. In Zurich, however, the numbers swelled to thousands. Imagine the imagery, people pouring into the streets with enough energy to shatter shop windows and damage property. The scale of this unrest paints a picture of a citizenry fed up with being sidelined in discussions that impact their lives. In 2020, these kinds of clashes wouldn't have been surprising given the political climate. Fast forward to today, and the frustrations have only deepened. Trump addressed the Greenland issue, stating, as I expressed to everyone very plainly, Greenland is imperative for national and world security. He puffed up the feathers of American dominance, declaring, the United States of America is the most powerful country anywhere on the globe by far. But do they truly believe that a single man's declaration can sway the skepticism of billions? And let's not forget the response from the Swiss protesters, with banners boldly declaring, Trump not welcome. They accuse their own authorities of validating an unwelcome presence. But isn't this what happens when decisions that are supposed to represent the will of the people are instead aligned with global elite agendas? Let's take this into the realm of libertarian critique. Trump's administration's economic policies, characterized by an aggressive approach, have led to an inflated national debt weighing heavily on the citizen's pocket. The idea of acquiring Greenland, paired with growing military ambitions, isn't just a whimsical notion. It's a costly ambition that could lead to rising taxes. In essence, it shifts the financial burden onto the working masses. Furthermore, the violent protests serve as a searing example of what many see as government incompetence. How often do we witness governance that is disconnected from the true priorities of the people? This disconnect is mirrored in the protests, revealing a harsh reality where political decisions seem anchored far from public interest. And then there's the matter of personal freedoms. The clashes between police and protesters in Switzerland are not just scenes of chaos. They are warning signs of a potential erosion of our fundamental liberties. Could it be that the very principles of free speech and assembly are under threat, hijacked by those in power? So as we wrap up today's segment, let's remember that these events serve as a microcosm of broader geopolitical discontent, a simmering outrage over how leadership handles global economic policies. If you too are tired of paying for their mistakes, Tired of watching your rights being whittled away? I urge you to stay informed and engaged. Hit subscribe to keep up with the stories that matter. Thank you for tuning into today's economic news. Stay vigilant, and remember, it's your voice that truly shapes the future. I'm John, signing off.